Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech, protected.
Secrets in the shallows, lost and found. Truth in every echo, loud and clear. Keep on with the long road, no more fear. In the halls of power, whispers grow. Every secret got beneath the undertow. Honest stories hidden in the glass. On this long road, in the truth we trust.
Welcome to The Long Road. I'm your host, Chris Roberts, and my main topic of the day is Meet the U.S. Government. And that's going to be about, excuse me, we're hearing about job cuts here, cuts there, whatever. But we're going to look into those numbers and we'll see. This is the official numbers from Dodge, DOGE.gov workforce. But before I get into that, I had a couple of degrees. One of my first degree is in history, and my second degree is in social science. And in social science, you take anthropology, political science, sociology, psychology, philosophy, those things. It's one thing to learn about history, but it's another thing to what was causing that history to happen at that time. Was it economic problems, or was it religious problems? Or every moment in history had a cause. And when you look through history, the most dangerous people are the ones who want to make history, not leaving it up to future historians to decide what is worthwhile or not. But they themselves want to implant it on future historians, saying, no, I am history making. I will be historic forever. You know, I can go through even American history, world history, people who thought they were going to be great, who thought they were going to be historic, didn't even last a few generations. You have kids that come out of college today and ask them who Rockefeller was, who was Carnegie, who was John Calhoun, who was Mussolini, who was Haile Selassie. They don't know. Who was Gandhi? They don't know. So some of those individuals wanted to make history, who thought they were almost godlike people, who thought the world and the sun revolved around them. And so we have Mr. Trump as President of the United States. And history is full of men like Mr. Trump. Okay, as I look at it, it isn't about us. I go and I kind of cringe when I hear "Make America Great Again." Okay, when we say something, we want to make it great again. It's kind of like we have new Coke come out. People my age will remember that. New, better flavor. And people go, ooh, this sucks. We want it made better again. We want it made it great again. So Coca-Cola went back to its old formula and brought it forward. So it made it great again. So when you tell me you want to make it great again, pick the time, place, period, all the reasons, and tell me why this special moment in time was great again. And so, if we're going to make something great again, we need to have a reference point. And because if you don't have a reference point, you don't know how much progress, or even if you're making progress. If you have this goal line that keeps just changing, you have no idea if you're making progress or not. You got to have a point. And as I'm looking at Mr. Trump, and I'm looking at people around him, and I'm looking at some of the people who on the Republican side are viewing Trump as a god. You know what? Julius Caesar had that problem too. He thought he was so great, he was a god. And it only took Brutus and a couple of other ones to bring him crashing back to earth. History is full of individuals, quote unquote, who were great leaders of the time, who were betrayed by some of their closest individuals. When I look at Trump, it isn't about the Republican Party. It isn't about conservatives. It isn't about religion. It's all about Mr. Trump. Because if Mr. Trump was looking at these, he would be saying, okay, this is a list of things that I want to accomplish in my first 2 years, but to help ensure that I can keep control of the House and the Senate, and I can go gangbuster in my next 2 years because I'm not eligible for re-election. No, we have an individual that's putting a bill in, wants to replace Ben Franklin with Donald Trump on a $100 bill. When I look at what Ben Franklin accomplished and what little Donald Trump has accomplished, that should not even be brought up. There's some people on Trump's staff. They're going in. Trump should get the Nobel Peace Prize. Trump is looking to get that Nobel Peace Prize ever since Obama was giving it prior to doing anything, quote unquote, to be a peace prize. And they thought Obama was going to be different, but Obama, he had no problem saying, okay, drone them. He had no problem launching drone missiles even at the U.S. citizens. But Trump is fixated on that. His people around him are fixated on that. And Trump, if you look at him, he's one of those individuals who's not going to hire anybody that can tell him no. You had the Secretary of Defense said, nope, sir, 4-star general, sir, this is not a really good idea. Then you had the other general, chief of staff. Nope, not really a good idea, sir. Sir, that's kind of illegal, or sir, I wouldn't do that. He's ensured that none of the people around him will even question that. Because let's look at it. Department of Education, the wife of the person for World, what it used to be WWE, but there's another one because of the copyright infringement. The Secretary of Defense, Marco Rubio, just getting to sit there, can't do anything. So you got all these stuff. You complain about the vice president complains about the president of Ukraine disrespecting the Oval Office by not wearing a suit. But I've seen a number of pictures of the Oval Office with some guy dressed in black and with a black baseball cap on. Wouldn't that be disrespecting the Oval Office? And so, as I look at it, Trump doesn't care about the Republican Party. Trump is using the Republican Party, and he doesn't care. Yes, he would like him to maintain control, but he doesn't care. There's people, if Johnson loses his position, no big deal. He can resign and he can make millions out in the real world. There's other congressmen and congresswomen that'll make a lot of money. They'll get on a board of directors someplace or whatever. Same thing in the Senate. But a lot of the new ones, they're going to be thrown. They're talking about Medicaid, and there was two brand new congressmen and one that just barely won, got reelected, all in Trump districts. They said they would ensure nothing would happen to Medicaid, and all three of them voted to advance the Medicaid thing. And people up in arms. At least one of them has an opponent already, and it looks like the other two will have opponents pretty quick. And so, we're going to run into the problem, or not the problem, situation is you've got Republicans over here, and you get Donald Trump. Donald Trump wants to make history in his eyes, and he'll use anybody to make that history. It doesn't matter who gets hurt, because he knows he's at the end of his life. He knows this is his last chance to make history, and no matter if he hurts anybody, it doesn't matter. He's not going to be around to listen, and two, they're never ever going to get close to Mar-a-Lago. Bingo. And so these other Republicans, some of the ones that got newly elected or the ones that have only been elected a couple of times, they have to make the decision whether to bow down and kiss the president's ring or realize that we're a separate part of the government and we're here to represent the people that elected us. We're not here to cow down to the Republican Party leadership. We're not here to cow down to Donald Trump. Donald Trump didn't elect us. The people elected us. The Democratic Party is no different. If the Democratic Party didn't go and say, bless Nancy Pelosi's ring, else you get no money. Bless Chuck Schumer's ring the same way. You're not going to get a chance to really run for office because we're not giving you the okay to run for office. And so what do you get? We got lousy candidates. And so why would anybody with leadership ability right now want to run in the Democratic Party, run in the Republican Party, or because it doesn't matter how good you are, you're going to sit on your butt until someone lets you think of become one of the leadership. And for some people, it may take 20, 30 years to move up. So Donald Trump knows the Republicans are out here. He knows the Democrats are out here, and he knows it's close. He'll play both of them against each other, but all the playing is he's dealing cards to the Democrats, he's dealing cards to the Republican. He's the dealer, and the deck is marked, and he knows which each side has as a hand. And he's going to use it for his benefit. And that sucks. We deserve better leadership all around. In the presidency, in Congress. I know Donald Trump must be really ticked off at the Supreme Court. It's kind of like, I'd put you on the Supreme Court, but I expect something in return now. But the Supreme Court, they know their decisions can be history making and can be used over and over again. No one wants to be like Chief Justice Tenney in the Dred Scott case. Oh, you're black? You cannot be a U.S. citizen. You're a piece of property, and your owner can bring you anywhere he wants, or the person you want. Separate but equal. Yeah, you can sit all the way in the back of the bus and smell the soot and everything coming out the back of the train and smell the garbage and all that kind of stuff. It's separate or equal. You're both on the train. Those are infamous decisions. And I can't remember the woman that was put on by Donald Trump, but her and Kavanaugh and Justice Roberts understand the importance of the Supreme Court. And I think they're going to do their best to protect the reputation of the Supreme Court. And I think what they'll do is they'll try their best to ensure the president doesn't take more power than he's allowed to, even if the members of the Congress are willing to give it up in hope of getting something in return. So, are we willing to give it up for something in return? Screw the American people. What can I benefit with my vote? What is my vote worth to the ruling party? And I think people around the country are really starting to wake up to what's going on. And they're going, they never expected it. Oh yeah, he's going to cut jobs. He's cutting other people's jobs. He's going to do this, but the other people. Nope. And so, I have right here, it's called Meet the U.S. Government. Okay. You have an idea how many people work for the federal government? Just the executive branch. The executive branch has 2,078,428 people. So that's almost like everybody in New Hampshire and Maine, or New Hampshire and Vermont would be a government employee. Okay, that's under the cabinet level. Under the cabinets, there's 11,417 officers. And so, I'm sorry, I should have double checked what the number of cabinet levels are. And just the executive branch, cabinet level and below, is $190 billion a year in wages. That's right, $190 billion in wages. And so, and what makes it? Yes. Are there more people than necessary? Hell yeah. But can you get rid of them efficiently, cost effectively, than just saying, we're going to cut these people? We have a term in the military. It's called road warriors. Road warrior is a senior enlisted or an officer that's sitting on their butt trying to do as little as possible until retirement day comes. So they stand for retired on active duty. And so some of these people become road warriors 4, 5, 6 years before they get eligible for retirement. Or some of them stay, you get to the 20, well, it ain't bad, I'll stay a couple of years and everything. So while these road warriors, they're not providing any value to the organization, they're getting paid at a higher rate, but because, for example, if I'm a sergeant major, we don't have extra sergeant majors in the waiting, okay? If the Marine Corps has 100 sergeant majors, that's all they can have. If the Marine Corps says 20 sergeant majors are going to retire next year, then they can select 20 new sergeant majors. But if 10 of the sergeant majors on active duty are road warriors, they're going to prevent 10 possibly good future sergeant majors from even getting promoted. Because if I'm a road warrior and I stay an extra 4 years, that means every year one first sergeant will fail promotion to sergeant major because I'm getting paid full pay. Hey, it's almost like saying, I'm protected, man. I'm good. Well, you know, if you're going to go through a RIF, you should be looking at and going, well, let's look at the evaluations and things and say, oh, this guy hasn't done anything in the last 4 years. It's time for him to say goodbye so we can bring up some new hard-charging man or woman who wants to be a sergeant major in the Marine Corps. But that's not what's happening. Okay, so when you look at the federal government executive branch only, the average person there is worked about 10 years. And And once they get that, that number goes down until the 2024 mark, and that's when a lot of people start retiring, and they still keep, some will stay on for 35 plus, like Mr. Fauci, and you sometimes wonder, wow, they're not getting paid that much money anymore. They could have been collecting their retirement and maybe done a side gig. But the average employee makes $91,400. That's the average, with the median around the $70,000 mark. So with their salaries and benefits, they do pretty well compared to the average American household. And you got a number of people, maybe about 1%, that'll get $280,000 to $300,000 a year. And the average employee is 47 years old. So what happens is a number of these people may have worked for contractors, for federal contractors, and then finally get a job in the federal government. Some people may have been in the military from 4 to 20 years. They get their military preference, or other ones will be service-connected disability, and a lot of ones it could be 5% for being in the military, 10% for being disabled on your points. And but they still have, there's quite a few people that are 60 and over, and a number of people that are over 65 that are still working. And here's some of the offices. You got Department of Agriculture, you got Department of Defense, Department of Energy, Department of Labor, Department of the Air Force, Department of Interior, Department of Commerce, Department of Homeland Security, Department of Veterans Affairs, Transportation, Health Service. And when you're looking at the Department of Veterans Affairs, it looks like they're looking to cut about 80 to 83,000 workers from the VA, and they want to get back to the 2019 staffing. With the PACT Act, they opened up VA healthcare to a lot of individuals that have no VA disability, and so there's probably a good chance a lot of those people will not allow to stay in, or if they stay in, there just won't be that much access for them. And so those are the big agencies. Meet the U.S. government, U.S. government executive branch. They're medium independent agencies. They have 12,887 people, 1,067 officers, and $1.8 billion in wages. The average employee's been there 11 years. And the average salary is $139,667. And again, the average employee is 47. Who are some of these? Armed Forces Retirement Home, Consumer Product Safety Commission, Defense Nuclear Facility Safety Board, Import-Export Bank of the United States, Federal Election, Federal Housing Finance, Farm Credit Development, Financial Corporation, Corporation for National and Community Service, Commodities Future Trading Commission. Federal Maritime Commission, Office of Special Counsel, Merit Service Protection Board, Federal Retirement Thresh Investment Board, Office of U.S. Trade Representative, Office of Budget, Office of Management and Budget. All these little agencies. So when we go to the executive branch, cabinet level, 11,417 offices. The medium level, 1,067 offices. The large independent agencies, 157,548, has 3,467 officers, not offices, and has 19.1 billion. The average worker has been there for 13 years and makes a little bit more than $121,000 a year. Who's these? Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, General Service Administration, NASA, Government Printing Office, Federal Trade Commission, EPA, Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, Court Service, an Offender Supervisory Agency for the District of Columbia, National Credit Union Association, National Archives and Record Administration, Office of Personnel Management, Small Business Administration, Social Security Administration, Smithsonian Institution, and Security and Exchange Commission. So, when you put these three groups together, it comes out to 2,252,162 people with 16,436 subordinate offices and $211.3 billion. When it comes out, the average person has worked for 10 years and makes $93,828 a year. So, let's look at some, because once COVID-19 took hold, President Trump took advantage of it to just jack up how much money that was going out. You remember getting those little stimulus checks and with a letter, English on one side, Spanish on the other side, saying, here's a check from Donald Trump to help you, okay? Then when Donald Trump got out of office, Joe Biden goes, wow, we're going to have to do more. So we just kept going, oh, this money out, that money. Tom Brady making a lot of money, a lot of actors, rap singers, whole bunch of people were making money when they were supposed to be keeping people working. And I remember going to my boss and I'm going, wait a minute, why can't I get laid off? He goes, what do you mean? If I get laid off, and I collect unemployment and get $600 every week, I'd be making about $2,000 a month extra. That would give me $24,000 more over the course of the year by not working. Well, you get the California group, they were able to, the prisons were able to get billions of dollars out of this COVID money, American Rescue Plan and everything. For what? Oh, they were unemployed. So they were able to scam it. And no one was checking. The money was just going out like crazy. So in 2019, Department of Health and Human Services budget was $1.2 trillion. In 2014, $1.7 trillion. Went up about 40%. Social Security Administration, 1.1 trillion to 1.5 trillion. No brainer. Baby boomers are retiring, about 10,000 a day. And Congress didn't have the gonads to raise the amount of Social Security that people and the companies were paying in. Any high school person who's pretty good in math would be able to predict at 6.7 or 6.5, unless people are working and more people are retiring, ain't gonna work out. Total leadership failure. Total leadership failure. Department of Treasury, $690 billion. Now $1.3 trillion. Department of Defense, 654 up to 826. That's pure. That ain't all the subsidiary things. Veterans Affairs, 200 billion to 325 billion. They decided to throw everything into the bucket. Bingo. And then they opened it up. Hey, anybody you want, you can come. You got a year to join the VA, or if you make below this, you can come in and you can get health care. You have to do a copay and things like that. But the other side of the government didn't mind, because most of the people had to meet those numbers to get in had to be under 60, well, over 65. But for Medicare, the difference between going to VA and going to Medicare saves Medicare about 30%. So yeah, put them in the VA budget, because who's going to complain about veterans? You can't do that. Department of Education, $104 billion. And in 2024, $268 billion. Just think of that. 268. COVID money was thrown all over the place. Well, we go to the Keene. If you go up to Jonathan Daniels, we had $600,000, and they says you better use it by such and such a date, or you have to give it back. So yes, we built a playground costing almost $600,000. It serves little kids, it serves handicapped kids, and it serves the community. So it's a benefit to the school, and it's a benefit to the community. But let's say, just think, here's $600,000. What are you going to do with it? And the state goes and says, well, if you're not going to spend it, take it back, because we're going to give it to someone else to spend, because we're not giving the money back. Hey. So, $104 billion to $268 billion. And all that money, what has it produced? Test scores are way lower now than they were in 2019. In some parts of the country, they don't even have 10% of the kids reading at grade level. Where did all the money go? The money that was pumped in there so the kids could catch up. But one of the things is, when these budgets keep going up, they find reasons or ways to reposition the money and ask for more. But where are the results? And so that's one of the things, if I'm looking at cutting, and yes, the federal budget and the number of employees need to be cut, it shouldn't be to the employee, oh, here's 5 things that I accomplished and this is why I should keep my job. No, that's why you have these managers and your supervisors making $120,000, $140,000. It's their job to just look through it and say, oh, we don't need this department. Oh, we're doing this. I know we got 15 people in there, but we've automated and we got this. And we only need 5 people, but we didn't want to get rid of Bill and Harry and Suey and Charles. Well, unfortunately, you're going to have to get rid of them. Part of the thing is, yes, you're getting the big bucks. Your requirement is to justify your employees. If you can't, it's 2 things. If you can't justify your employees, that means you are an ineffective employee and you need to go. And you need to be replaced with someone who can do the job. And it's always great to say all our employees are outstanding. Well, that's wrong, because it really screws over the really outstanding. If I study, I bust my hump, and I'm in the top 10%, and I've done everything to meet the qualifications, the standards of being outstanding, and there's someone way here that just goes through the motion, punches in seconds before the bell goes off, and is in the parking lot while the bell's still ringing, doesn't do anything extra, and he or she is called outstanding? Tell me why I want to stay with this organization that underappreciates my value. Everyone is not outstanding. Outstanding is usually, say, for your top 10 or 15%. If you have 100 people and you say the top 15 are outstanding, if you're number 16, you have to realize and accept the fact that you're not outstanding. You're close. If you work harder, you could move up. Or if someone that's in the top 15 says, hey, I made it, I don't have to work anymore, they can fall out. But until that happens, only the top 15 are outstanding. 16 or 17 is so sad, so close. They don't put number 4 up on the Olympic podiums because they were really close and we didn't want to hurt someone's feelings. And so that's what you got to look for when you're looking at the people that need to go. What positions need to go? And unfortunately, a lot of the people want to be nice guys. And so, what's Trump doing? He's using Elon Musk. He's using Elon Musk as the butcher, as the executioner. And you know what? If you study history, a lot of times the executioner ends up getting executed him or herself. And so that will only be, so if Elon Musk comes in and says, okay, everybody who's on a probationary status is now gone, plain simple. Oh, you got 3,722 people on a probationary status. Okay? On Friday, you're going to tell them that, and you're going to send them out of the office for them never to return. Bingo. Then if I'm the boss, hey, I tried to fight for you, but I was overruled by him. There was nothing I could do. Yeah, there was. But you were covering your butt. You were looking out for yourself. Lack of leadership. Go along to get along, and hopefully I'll get promoted up. Yeah, I'm a GS12. I want to become a GS13, and hopefully I can become one of those Super 15s. Department of Agriculture, $150 billion in 2019. Fiscal year 2024 was $203 billion. That was because under the COVID and some of the other ones, a lot of the free and reduced lunch program was expanded. Children were getting fed during the summer breaks. That has stopped or changed. And and when you look at the cost of food and everything, so that one's going up 1/3, about 33%. The Office of Budget Management, 103 to 126. Department of Transportation, 81 to 117. You know, it's like the city of Keene is hoping to get a grant from the Department of Education to help fund downtown. But Department of Transportation has said, the secretary says, well, you know, if you got a really high percentage of people being married, and you get even higher percentage of these people having children, you got a better chance. If the law doesn't prevent it, you guys are going to be the first to get grant money. Keene, nah, we don't have a lot of people getting married. And if you look at the numbers in school and the surrounding areas, we're not having a lot of children. Department of Homeland Security went from 56 billion in 2019 to 90 billion in 2014. So a lot of that money was to help pay. So we had the migrants coming in. You had to process them. You had to send them. You had millions of people that you sent out different places. You gave them phones. You gave them this. So those fed them. Those all had cost. And so it's 89. The president wants about $85 billion more, and to send the people the other way, going to reduce this expenditure and send the people the other way. The refugee migrant shelter place in San Diego was on the media the other day because they were expecting about $1.25 million, $1.5 million because they were using that money to process and help migrants through after they were released at the border. Well, President Trump said no money, and so now they don't know how they're going to function. They don't know how they're going to survive. But that's what some of the things is. You have illegal migration, but with illegal migration, you have too many people to put in detention centers. So then in turn, we help fund shelters that these migrants can go in and they can be processed before they go on their way. And so a lot of people were making a lot of money off these migrants. And some of them used and abused the migrants, but they were making money off the migrants. Again, there were so many coming in and moving so quickly, no one could track over where the money went. Independent agencies. In 2019, it was 20 billion. In 24, it was 78 billion. Other defense civil program, 61 billion in 2021 and 67 billion in 24. Department of Housing and Urban Development almost doubled from 28 to 52. That's homeless, Section 8, different subsidized housing. Small business went from $500 million to 33.2. I think that's a typo. NASA went from 20 to 25. Interior 14 to 17. Commerce 11 to 14. EPA 8 to 13. Corps of Engineers 6 to 11. Justice 9 to 9.5. National Science 7.3 to 8.4. Legislative branch 5 to 7. Department of Labor from 35 to 66. They get extra money because of the high unemployment rate and everything, but a lot of them kept the money and put money into different things like training programs. But if you look at the way it's going right now, okay, some of the big cuts, so some of the small, you're looking at the Department of Interior. Oh, they cut a whole bunch. Yeah, but we don't have enough park rangers anymore. We weren't thinking about that. It's kind of like, how many park rangers do we need to do this? NASA, you know what? Those are pretty intelligent and pretty well educated people there. And here's the Department of Interior. It's $17 billion. NASA's $25 billion. Okay. Department of Energy went from 29 to 50. Department of State went from 28 to 37. Executive branch, GSA, undisputed. So in 2019, total spending was $4.4 trillion. In 2024 was $6.7 trillion. So basically, in that 5 years, the spending went up 50%. 50%. Okay. We have all these businessmen that get elected and women. And so we get all these people get elected, supposed to be the smartest people in the House and everything. So if I go to the president, I go to the leaders in Congress, the Democratic leaders, the Republican leaders, and everything, and say, what was America's return on investment? Okay? How is the quality of life of the American people improved with such a great investment? Okay? Go to the Department of Defense. What is your return on investment? Are the American people safer? Is the world safer? Or are we just spending money all around the world because it makes military corporations very wealthy? Of course, they got some of the highest stock evaluations and they've had some really great profits. On the revenue side, individual income tax 1.7 went up to 2.4. Corporate 230 billion to 530. Social Security tax 1.2 trillion to 1.7. Excise tax 99 to 101 billion. Estate and gift tax 17 to 32. Customs duty 71 to 77. Miscellaneous revenue 85 to 43. So what's going to happen? The custom duties is going to go higher because that's tariffs. And it's a funny thing, if you go buy something, if you buy, like I said before, a refrigerator has a 10% tariff, you pay the extra, on 1,000, you pay the extra $100, but that federal government counts that as a revenue under custom duties. In 2019, we had $3.4 trillion in revenue. In 2024, $4.9 trillion in revenue. But the when you look at it, 0.5, 0.7, $1.2 trillion of that increase was individual taxes and Social Security taxes. So that's how big our government is. That's how much money the government spends. That's how much it's grown in 5 years. And yes, it has to be cut, but it has to be cut as a surgeon, not as a butcher.